And good afternoon, everyone. Phil Penarski here once again with CBS 42 Now. We apologize for starting a little bit later than we had planned, but this is, of course, Mayor Randall Woodfin's 2022 State of the City address. We will be bringing the rest of his address to you live, and you can actually find his entire address over on our website, cbs42.com, at the conclusion of his address, but we will send you there live now to hear the mayor's comments.
Our hub as a healthcare. Our economic potential is what we have to be very intentional about for our continued growth. But just as the story of the grandmother or mother is of our present, the story of her grandchild, the story of her grandchild is our future. Protecting her, providing opportunities for her, allowing her space to grow her small business, restoring the neighborhood in which she lives. This is our charge. This is how we make hope tangible. I want to thank you all for allowing me just to give a few updates. And now I'm not sure who's going to quarterback this. Maybe me, since I'm up here by myself. But I intentionally left a lot of room for questions, so I'm going to open it up. And who wants to go first? There are no shy people in this room. Yes, sir. It's the team. The team is defined in many ways. The first of that portion of that team this is Jefferson County Mayors Association. We meet regularly, and then we've been meeting quite some time. The organization existed prior to me being mayor. However, I was intentional about being active and participating in bringing the mayors together in this county. Chris Nana likes to remind me and other mayors in Jefferson County that Jefferson County is one of the most fragmented counties in the nation, not Alabama, but the nation. There are 30 plus cities in one county, which when you think about it is pretty crazy. And there's so much that differentiates us, but at the same time, there's so much collectively that we all face the same issues. And so we talk about those issues that we can all collectively solve as a unit. We've done a lot in 2020 as well as 2021, but there's more to do in 2022. And we'll continue to not only go after low-hanging fruit that actually bring us together and create trust, but in addition to that, go after mid and high-hanging fruit as well. Another part of this whole area is the Jefferson County Commissioners. And we also have a pretty good cadence of actual having conversations around economic development and growth. Birmingham is the seat city, but it's important that we also engage, again, the entire area. And I would say another part of that is something called the Big Ten. The mayors of all the, urban cores that make up Alabama. We just had a 2-day meeting in Huntsville, Sunday and Monday. And the 6th largest city in the state of Alabama, which is Hoover, Alabama, Mayor Frank Bucato and I talk often about what we can do collectively to continue to drive change for our entire area, for the 2 largest cities in the entire county. So we work together. We built trust. We got to continue to communicate and solve problems. Who else? That would be ideal, but the truth is there are not a lot of promise programs across the nation, but there are a few. We took a portion of our model from one of the first promise programs across the nation, which is the Kalamazoo Promise from Kalamazoo, Michigan. The whole idea is if you lived in the city of Kalamazoo and you graduated from the Kalamazoo school system, you could attend any state school, public university or college, 2-year, 4-year, free tuition. And there are other promise programs. in Buffalo, New York, and many others that we've studied and benchmarked. But part of our Promise programs also includes apprenticeships, which is unique to Birmingham. And the city of Birmingham puts in the majority of that funding as it relates to a workforce development strategy. When you consider the tuition side, that is 100% driven through philanthropy and private dollars and fundraising. When you talk about the astronomical costs of not just tuition, when you add room and board and all these other costs, truthfully, that can be cost prohibitive to making the program sustainable. And so what we initially want to focus on and what's realistic is just tuition only. We believe we have to get to a point where the program is endowed, and that makes it sustainable when I'm no longer mayor or whoever the mayor is, because this program should live to support our future, regardless of whoever sits in the mayor's office. And so our immediate focus is on continued fundraising efforts and endowing the program to cover 100% of tuition only. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, my question is similar to the first question, partnerships. I'm going to ask you about the city council. My sense is that the new city council not only is diverse, but has a seriousness and purpose that the prior council didn't have. You talk about your relationship with Alexander Smith and council and what y'all expect to do together for the next 4 years.
Yeah, it's a true love fest. No, I'm serious. Like, I have been truly, truly honored to serve this council. Now we're fresh, y'all. They were sworn in October. I was sworn in a month later in November. But it has been a great moment, and I'll tell you why. Now, you used the word serious. They are. Individually and collectively, they're very passionate about moving the city forward. Collectively, they skew younger. They are idealistic as I am, but pragmatic as I am as well. They actually believe in team, which is very unique for the council. I mean that in a serious way. They strive for what I strive for. We pride ourselves on actually being boring and having functional meetings where you all can pull out your popcorn. And there's so many other things I can say about them. But collectively, here's what we want to do. We sat down, we had a retreat. When was it, Madam President? December or beginning of December, end of November? And we did a couple things. One, we went through each of the individual council's priorities. And then we went through the council's collective priorities. And then I told them what my vision was and how we were going to make a path forward. And we came together around the things that we agreed to. One of the ways that's come to reality is literally just this morning in the council meeting. The council unanimously passed a resolution to support the legislative agenda that will go down to Montgomery, where the 10 of us collectively are supporting moving our community forward because we don't have home rule. What makes that moment this morning unique, in my opinion, is often in the past, you've had a council that's had their own lobbyists with their own agenda. You've had the mayor who's had their own lobbyists and their own agenda. We have a collective agenda, and that agenda is centered around all the quality of life issues you all can think about, from infrastructure to conflict resolution to supporting Dr. Sullivan in education, to so much more around economic development. And truly, when I say LOVE, I really mean that. I'm grateful to them, not only for their heart, but for their intentionality around working together. So publicly, thank you. Who else?
This step forward, expanding Medicaid so that people have access to health care at the highest level?
I think it's through advocacy. I think it's through telling our story. Birmingham has we often talk about Tell of Two Cities. Birmingham has, per capita more hospital beds than any other part of the state of Alabama. And there's all this, like, in proximity on this side, the best doctors and the best medical care. And on this side, right here within our city limits, some of our own citizens, a considerable amount that is, don't have access to that same health care that's here. And it's not just individuals, it's parents and it's families and it's children. And, the days of this, quote, Obamacare, I mean, he hasn't been the president in 5 years. I'm not sure why we're not having the conversation to receive these resources where the dollar amounts we already receive from the federal government are just a crazy number. But there are too many individuals within Birmingham, within Jefferson County, within the other 66 counties in our state who literally don't have access to affordable health care. And this conversation shouldn't even be political. I'm always baffled about laws that are created to prevent people from making certain choices. But the number one thing we should be doing as legislators at any level is doing everything we can to save lives. Our opportunity to expand healthcare for Alabamians puts us in a position to literally increase quality of life, to improve life, to allow people to live longer and to have access to healthcare so they can take care of themselves and their family. Why is this conversation still being had of not expanding health and this option? I have no clue why. But I'll continue to speak to the legislators. I'll continue to speak to the governor, and I'll do whatever I can with our federal delegation as well to get them to see. You should lean in on this conversation because it's actual. It extends itself. It's a reason why we have such a health crisis in the state of Alabama. Great question. Who else?
Public safety strategy of addressing domestic violence, since we know the majority of the homicides here locally and now typically are committed by impacted by traumas children or also have previous.
Yeah. So prior to being mayor, I served as a lawyer for the city of Birmingham. I spent a considerable amount of my time in our criminal court, not only our municipal court, but our circuit court for our jury trials as well. And I spent so much time with victims of domestic violence. And through our court system and through our agencies and support partners, we offer, when I say we, I really mean our partners in the community. And they're various partners. We offer so much. So many services exist in Jefferson County related to victims of domestic violence. And the biggest thing I want to stress to any person that is a victim or a potential victim, there is help. It may seem that when you're in the confines of that home or that apartment, that you have no help or you have no escape, but you do. There are many resources. There are safe havens for you. There's housing options available. Our police have civilian personnel that can lend and extend themselves to you. Our office helps, as well as our court systems, where it doesn't even have to be a criminal case in nature. But she's right. So many of our issues of homicides are ones where we can't necessarily control for or anticipate because they are in the confines of someone's personal property home. They occur at daytime and nighttime. They're not just a Birmingham thing. There was just a crazy domestic issue in the county next door in Tuscaloosa where, unfortunately, a man not only took his partner's life, but he took the child's life too before he committed suicide. This is an ongoing issue across our nation. What we'll continue to do is to promote that hotline number for victims. We'll continue to communicate there are options, and for those where we catch them in the system before it escalates, we'll continue to be aggressive. I guess not only in recommendations to the judge on punishments, but if things need to go down to Montgomery, which Montgomery's done its part, legislation has changed for the better to support victims in Montgomery too. Very grateful for that. There is an overall strategy of all crime, though, around prevention, enforcement, and reentry measures. As gun violence continues to increase, what we found is for every gun we take off the street, it's replaced easily by 2 or 3. I have said this, and this audience needs to know this as well. It is easier to get a gun in Birmingham, Alabama than it is to get drugs. That's a problem. And that's a problem that the city of Birmingham can't solve for alone. I am all pro Second Amendment. I believe in the right to bear arms. But when you consider the double homicide we had this past Sunday, where men were using guns that are assault rifles, I'm not sure if that was the Second Amendment was talking about and the way it was used, where a bullet penetrates through a vehicle and shoots an innocent 16-year-old who should be in class today and is now can't be because she passed away. Those things are unfortunate. Those things are unfair. And I don't believe that we should just sit back. We can do something about it, but it's going to take more than just any mayor in any urban core across the nation. We need support from our states as well as our federal government to lean in on this conversation. Who else? Anybody else? Lee? How much time we have?
Talk a lot about public-private partnerships, and I like to work. From my vantage point, I think Birmingham is unique in that willingness. I think we've got people who do some special kinds of work in this public-private partnership. Tell me what you think is our greatest challenge to recruiting new companies to take part in this environment, or tell me what you think is our greatest accomplishments or our greatest bragging rights. Talk to me about the new company.
So I like the tech space. I'm appreciative of Birmingham Bound and Tech Birmingham. Leadership of both of those organizations have been aggressive. But I want to brag on probably one of our most successful risk takers of Bill Smith. Not only ship, but landing. I want to brag on Tony Somerville with Fleetio. I want to brag on Shagan with Theranos. And there's so many others that are taking this risk where we need to drive tech. I believe that lens should be extended again to healthcare as I continue to have conversations with Dr. Watts, Dr. Vickers, as well as Dr. Josh Carpenter between UAB and Southern Research. And I think, so much of that healthcare lens is looked at through saving lives, which it should be. But in other cities like Boston, or Baltimore, or the Bay Area, where it's actually they monetize and it's veered towards patents, et cetera. I think Birmingham has to be aggressive from that approach as well. And so I think the tech is a strength. I would say a challenge would be twofold. If you have a company that exists somewhere else in the nation and you're looking to expand or do a HQ2, you want an available workforce that's ready when you hit the ground. Or for those same people that say, I want to come to Birmingham, the first question they ask their realtor is, tell me about the school system. And so I think two of the biggest challenges is we have to continue to be intentional about investing in our workforce, which is why the Birmingham Promise is so important, as well as continued partnerships with Dr. Mark Sullivan to make sure we're doing everything we can to not only make our school system work for our existing children, but make Birmingham City School System an actual choice as well. Lisa had one last question. All right. Well, we got one.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here.
when you served your first year with narrative budget based on a certain tax base, you have endured the problems regarding the pandemic. Where is the budget in the city of Birmingham today? And would you consider it healthy and growing, or would you consider it stagnant?
I would lean towards healthy and growing. The pandemic was rough for us. Pre-pandemic, there were many things we had to do that were very unpopular, but the right thing to do to right-size the city of Birmingham's budget. There's a conversation around pensions, not just the state RSA, but municipalities across the nation where pensions have become liabilities on our books. And our credit rating is attached to how we solve for our pension issues. Well, when I came into office, there was nowhere else to kick the can. I literally had to pick it up and solve for the issue. We solved for it, and our pension is now stable. Our credit rating is now better. And with revenues and taxes coming in, things are better. City of Birmingham, like many cities in the state of Alabama, are heavily dependent on sales taxes as well as lodging taxes. Of course, lodging taxes took a hit because tourism took a hit because of coronavirus. But as we come out of the pandemic and with all the investments we've made in the uptown area, we think we'll start to see increases in those lodging taxes as well as continued sales taxes. And I think property taxes are in a good spot right now across the nation. All of that to say this, we are growing. And the council, they will tell you that this infusion of federal resources, this type of resources has not been put into any city, any state in our country probably since the New Deal. This is a once in a generational lifetime opportunity to make real investments in our community to see the return. I think if the first 4 years, if I had to, I guess, define it, it was we made intentional decisions that were non-sexy to get our finances right. This term would be defined as actually spending money and resources to build up our city's infrastructure and make the necessary investments in economic development for our community to continue to grow. Thank you all so much.
So I was doing a little bit of math, not hard math, because I'm not good at math. But I realized that the mayor, you may not know this, but we met about 15 years ago. And I remember it because anytime you meet someone like Mayor Woodfin, you remember. And it has been such a privilege to be in a community to watch the opportunities he's had to grow his leadership in so many ways, and watching how he doesn't just lead and listen with adults, but he does it with a passion for young people. He does it with a passion for the really young. And even seeing that as recently as a scouts meeting before the holiday break with a small group of kids who literally listen to those words, remember those words, and those are going to be a part of what they take forward. I say that because watching all that growth and change has been inspiring. But there are also some things that have remained constant since that time in Avondale when I was wearing flip-flops, shorts, t-shirt would look a little different now. And those things are his unwavering optimism, his passion for service, a genuine passion for service. And even most importantly, particularly while we've been in this pandemic, the courage to do the hard work and make the tough and difficult decisions to do the right thing by people. And for that, it is a privilege to be a part of a community where you're the mayor, and it's a privilege to have you here at Kiwanis with us today. So thank you for that. So we've now kicked off an awesome beginning of the year with Kiwanis. You've set a high bar. Next week, please join us in person as we hear from Dr. Tommy Weiss. He is the board chair of I3 Academy, a tuition-free public charter school in Birmingham. It's going to be awesome. With that, our meeting is adjourned. See you next week.
And that was the 2022 State of the City Address, courtesy of Birmingham Mayor Randall Woodfin. Once again, Phil Penarski here with CBS 42 Now. We apologize that we did not get to bring you the entire address live right here on CBS 42 Now, but of course you will be able to find the entire address as well as a full recap over on our website in just a matter of moments. So I encourage everybody to head on over to cbs42.com in the next couple of minutes, and you will be able to find everything you're looking for there. And of course, tonight at 6 o'clock right here on CBS 42 Now, we will be bringing you Governor Kay Ivey's State of the State address. That will be happening over in Montgomery, but you can watch it live right here on CBS 42 Now, as well as over on our website. And we will be continuing to bring you updates on all of our newscasts, starting with the CBS 42 News at 6 and following on the CBS 42 News at 10. So once again, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in to this latest edition of CBS 42 Now. I'm Phil Penarski, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.